Hi everyone and welcome. This tutorial shows you how to create a report in Jaspersoft Studio, the desktop report designer for Jaspersoft. We'll build this report using actually an existing connection that I have to a MySQL database. I'll cover the basics to quickly building a report, including connecting the data, adding report components, formatting and styling, and then finally exporting the report to PDF. And the goal of this video is afterwards you'd have the knowledge you need to go ahead and build your own report in Jaspersoft Studio. That said, let's go ahead and get things started. I'll begin by clicking File, New, and Jasper Report in the top menu. That's going to start up the report wizard. I'm actually using the professional version of Jaspersoft Studio for this tutorial, but all the functionality I'll show here is available in the community version of the software as well. You'll see there are a number of report templates you can select from. We're going to start from scratch and select the blank A4 report template. You can hit next at the bottom. This is where we get to name our report. And in the spirit of Shark Week, one of my favorite weeks of the year, we're going to build a report on the history of shark attacks using a publicly available data set from the global shark attack file. So let's give it an appropriate name and use the default My Reports folder. The file name JRXML, for those of you that are new to Jaspersoft, is just a XML file that Jaspersoft uses. It contains the definition of the report layout that we're about to design. So we can hit next here. Here is where we connect to our data. I used the JDBC data adapter to hook up to my shark attack data in MySQL. But Jaspersoft Studio gives you a lot of other options to connect to your data if that's not your preferred method. Going to enter a basic select query to pull up my fields. And I'm going to go ahead and select the fields that I like for my report. Let's see. Country, whether or not the shark attack was fatal, and the species of shark. And I can hit next. You can also define field to group by if that wasn't included in your initial query. But I actually like to just sort my data by year. So to do that, I click on year, and then I can drag it over to fields, and then select this box at the bottom to use the group fields as sort fields. I hit next. And that's it for the wizard. Now we can move on to the fun stuff, which involves actually designing the report. Hit finish. Okay, we've connected to our data, designed our query, we're ready to start building our report. This is the Jaspersoft Studio design environment. And the first thing I'm going to do is configure a table so that we can take a peek at our data and make sure everything is looking all right. And we'll start in the upper right corner under the basic elements section. And I'm going to click on static text element and drag it into the column header band. Now, while I'm doing this, each of these blue rectangular boxes are report bands that are designed for various purposes. The column header band is where we want to place our fields. And Studio makes it easy to align and snap report elements into place as I just did there. And now that we have our first field entered, we want to add a text field in the detail section underneath. And this text field is going to correspond to the box we just placed in column header. So once I have the text field in the details section, the detail band, I'm going to double click to get to the expression editor. And from here, I'll remove text field, and I'm going to double click on case number, which is the header for this first column, and click finish. And now what we've done is this text field will generate all the rows for this field based on the query we designed earlier. And I could go back and do the same for each of our remaining fields that I just did here, but I want to show you a shortcut to getting your basic table structure configured. So I'm going to go ahead and delete both of these. And if we look at the outline box in the lower left, we can actually, by clicking on this Fields tab here, enter all of the elements for the basic table structure in one go. So if I click on case number, hold shift, and then click species. And then if I drag all this into the detail band, it's going to automatically configure my table setup for me. I can cozy this up to the top here and shorten the height of my detail band and do the same for my column header. But really all of those pieces are in place with that simple act as opposed to going manually and adding them each individually. So now, at this point, let's take a quick look by selecting preview and see if our data populated as we intended it to. Okay, great. This is nothing beautiful, but it's exactly what we were hoping for. Looks like we have 309 report pages and the information is populating correctly. So going back to the design view, we can get back by clicking this box in the lower left. Let's add another element. We just saw our report has 300 odd pages, so a logical addition here would be a page counter perhaps to the footer. You'll see under composite elements, the last element here is page X of Y, so I can click on this and drag it over page footer. It's giving me a warning sign to let me know it's potentially outside of the page footer band. I'm just going to roughly center things for now, and I can always come back later to touch it up, but the page X of Y element is now incorporated. Next, let's add some conditional formatting. So we're not going to go into deep detail into this today, but I do want to show you that Jaspersoft Studio allows you to define styles that you can use to control the appearance of the report. So if you see styles in the outline box in the lower left, if we right-click on this and then click on Create Style, we can give this a name, and fatalities is what I'm looking for. And once we've created that style, named it, we can right-click on fatalities and then incorporate this conditional style that we want the style to meet. So I right-click on that. I now have a new box that was just created. If I double-click on this, it's going to pull up the expression editor, and this is where we'll define the logic. So we want the style to incur when the fatal field is equal to Y or yes. So if I click fatal, then I'll see this equals Boolean expression. Double click on that, and it's going to pull this expression up for me. I can enter Y, which is going to accomplish what I'm hoping it will, and then hit finish. So now I have this style created. I've got this conditional logic that I've incorporated. Now once the row meets this conditional logic, if it does, I want to express it in a certain way, and I want that cell to be represented as red. So I'm going to adjust that for the back color and click OK. At this point, I want to go back to the fatal detail, the detail that's going to incorporate this style. So I click on that, and under the Appearance tab, if I go down, once I click on Style here, I should see Fatalities, the style I just created. And I do, so I'll go ahead and click Fatalities. And while doing so, I also want to make sure that this transparent box is unchecked. Doing so will enable the style to affect the background color. And once again, let's click preview and make sure that this has been incorporated correctly. So at first glance, it appears that it may not have worked. This is actually good news. It shows that there haven't been any fatal attacks recently. If we flip through the pages, we should see a few fatal attacks colored in red as we intended. So at this point, the hardest part is really behind us. There's just a few small steps to go, and we're going to go back into the design view. And you may have noticed that we haven't added anything to the title or page header bands yet. And I like to save these for last once I've got the core parts of the report finished. So at this point, we can go ahead and do that. And let's add a title first. So we're going to select static text again, drag that into the title band, align that in the upper right corner, and we'll say history of shark attacks. I'll apply some very basic formatting here, and we'll also give this a header, this report a description essentially of what it is. And I'm going to make some tweaks to the header element. I'll vertically center the text, and I also want to give it a red background. These are aesthetic tweaks that many users would expect of a report. So it looks like the background is not showing red because I have this marked as transparent. So if I uncheck this box, that will show up. And now I've got a slight issue in that the black text doesn't contrast well with that red background. So if I go to forecolor, I can click and drag and create a white text. And as a final touch, let's add an image. The image element is also under basic elements. So I can click and drag this over our title band. And I'm going to use this absolute path option to just select an image from my desktop. But as it says, you should really only use this option for testing. When you're doing this for your actual report, you'll want to use one of the other options. For me, I'm going to just browse to this vicious shark that I have gathered. I'll hit OK. I'll do some basic resizing. And get that incorporated correctly. I'm going to do a few other basic resizing and aesthetic tweaks as well. I've recently become a fan of a new font called Avenir. I was wondering why it had gone away. It's because my image was selected. So if I go to Avenir, I can select that. I also would like to vertically center each of these responses just to make it a little bit easier to read. And I can make this box a little bit larger. Everything else looks good. And the moment of truth, once we're happy, we can hit preview one last time. Alright, everything looks good. The very last step in this tutorial is exporting to PDF. So you'll find all of the exporting options at the top of the preview page. So if you hit the downward arrow and select export as PDF, the report will run. I'll have to save it first, and I'm just going to save it to demo. And if this is some massive report, you could click run in the background. Since this one is compiling fairly quickly, that's fine to sit there and wait. Now let's take a look at the finished product. Shark attacks. And here it is. The basics to creating your first report in Jaspersoft Studio. I'll flip through so we can see a few of the conditional formatting elements. And that completes the tutorial. So we connected to data, we added and configured report elements, we did a little formatting and styling, and finally exported to PDF. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please subscribe to our channel to access additional Jaspersoft resources. Thank you.